Our life was really not that exciting. We never traveled. We never traveled much. He was not a traveler, neither was I. Probably shouldn't say this. I think everywhere I traveled, especially by car, I threw up in every state.
You're so nervous.
No, I don't know. I had migraines too. I suffered with migraines for a long time. And we're very fortunate to have the life we have and the family that we have, to be honest with you.
Yeah. My father, I think, went to 3 or 4 grades, you know. And I only went to the seventh grade. So, but then I realized I would gotta educate myself. So I started, I was good in math after that. I studied everything. Just grammar school, and of course my father.
School of hard knocks.
Huh?
Yeah. School of hard knocks.
But our parents taught us how to survive.
You missed a lot of school too.
Well, sometimes I'd say, you don't learn much there, learn much more at home, so I didn't go in.
That's true, they had the farm.
They didn't do anything.
Springtime was planting and fall was harvesting.
Yeah.
So it was hard.
It wasn't important to us, but my parents taught us how to make it. They taught us how to take it about yourself and just pick something and go for it. You know?
Mm-hmm. And I went to St. Teresa's Grammar School and Keith Hall. I graduated in 1957. And I didn't work long. I worked in an office which I didn't like. I wanted to be a nurse.
Oh, really?
First of all, I did. But in order to do that, I would have had to take a college course in high school. And my father said, you don't apply yourself enough. You're going to take a commercial course. And you work in an office or whatever. Why I decided to go along with what he said, I have no idea, but I did. And I did. I got a job and in an office. I really never enjoyed that. I was not great at typing. I could type, but I'm not fast. And I didn't like shorthand at all. Don't ask me why I was in that. Job I did like a lot was when I worked at J.P. Stevens on Pleasant Street, and I was the telephone operator with that old-fashioned plug things and receptionist. Because I love people anyway. I enjoyed that. But I didn't work there that long. After I got pregnant for your father, I stayed there till maybe I was 7 or 8 months pregnant, and I never went back to work. Never went back.
It's amazing those days. A lot of women had these jobs, just putting wire, telephone things.
It was fun though.
Somebody calls, they connect you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Now you push a button. My God, look at what we do on FaceTime.
I know.
I can be talking to Denise in Londonderry and Diana in Arizona, and me here in Drake, and we see each other.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing.
It is amazing.
It is amazing.
Just in our lifetime. That's only like 80 years.
I know. I think of that. We remember Horse and Buggy. I can remember the vegetable guy coming down, yelling. He had tomatoes, fresh strawberries, and with his horse and stop and pick out what you wanted off the cart.
I remember a guy who used to collect rags. He would go around and all over the Drake, and he says, rags.
Was he selling them or picking them up?
No, he was picking them up and trying to sell them.
Oh.
He had no.
So you would pick them up, clean them, and then sell them.
Sell them, yeah.
Wow.
That's how they made a living,
Yeah.
And I also remember too, in the yard, we had a hole with a bucket, and you put all of your leftovers in there, and a guy would come and get that to feed his pigs.
Yeah.
All the food, which I thought was gross.
In our time, we were kids. There were no stores we could go shopping in. So on our farm, we had cows, pigs, and sheep and all that stuff. Some of the animals we had to slaughter, and slaughter them ourselves, clean them, and put them. We didn't have refrigerators then either, so we made this room that was thick wall insulation. And we put them in there during the winter time, and they'd stay frozen all winter.
I never had that. No, when they moved up there, they didn't even have electricity or running water in the house. Yeah. But on Parker Avenue, we did. We had central heat and all of that. They had an ice chest, which was, they used to go on the boulevard and cut the ice out of the Merrimack River and put that in the refrigerator, and that's where we kept kept things
Or
cold. But we never did.
There was an ice place we used to go buy ice too.
Gauge ice house, yeah.
Wow.
And we would put that in the refrigerator, and that would keep the food cool. It wasn't electricity; it was just ice.
Yeah.
So once every 2 or 3 days, we'd have to go get a big hunk of ice. And sometimes we'd go to the Memere River, take a saw and cut a big piece of ice out, and take it home.
Wow.
But we never did that. I never saw that.
Yeah.
I lived on Park Avenue. I think we were up way above you, way ahead.
She was a rich girl.
Although my grandfather who lived next door had a refrigerator like that.
We didn't have electricity for first. I probably didn't have electricity till I was 7 or 8 years old. So there was no telephone poles, no telephone, no electricity. We had these lights on the ceiling, they were gas lights, and we'd have to put some type of gas in it and light it to get light at night.
Tell them how at night how cold it was. Get up and beat his socks.
There was no heat in the house. It was just that wood stove. So one morning we get up and we had left some water on the table and it was frozen.
Oh my gosh.
So on a real cold night, we take every coat in the closet and put it on us.
Yeah.
It's a survival thing. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? We didn't know the difference. You don't think you knew the difference then? You didn't think it was hardship. This is how you live.
But we lived on a farm. It was a nice. It wasn't like living in the city.
Yeah.
I met the grandmother probably 1956 or 7 when I got out of the military, right?
In 58, late 58, we met.
You met in 58?
Yeah. We were late 58. We were engaged like for 9 months. We got married in 1960.
Yeah.
We dated before we got engaged.
That's right. It was 1958.
My sister belonged to an organization at church called Key Row, where young Catholic teenagers were supposed to meet so that they could befriend each other. I did not want to go to Key Row at all because I didn't think I needed to go to a church function to meet boys. But she got sick the day we were going to vote for who was going to be president of Key Row. And she said to me, I can't go, you go to Key Row and take care of things. So I did. My sister had recruited all of these kids in Drake. She went to Mrs. Paquette because she had 11 kids. And she had 7 boys. She said, that's just the thing for them. They're going to go. So both he and his brother Andy joined the Key Row. I got to meet him there.
And this was at St. Teresa's Church.
So one of the first trips that we made was going up to Mount Monadnock.
Yeah.
And we were not supposed to pair off. And we had a bus, and he went up with another girl sitting in the front. I don't know what happened, but climbing that mountain, I must have had a cute booty or something. Well, he came down with me.
The other girl sat in the front with me, and she was in the back.
Yeah.
Right? And when we got, I dated this girl a couple of times, and she was a good friend and a neighbor, So I wasn't too interested in her. But when she came, we got to the mountains, and instead of staying with her, I was mean, and I separated and went with her.
He also met me. He also had seen me one time walking. I was going to my aunt's, and I had a red sweater and black slacks, and I think it got him. So he ended up calling me, asking me if I wanted a kitten. Could he come over to give me a kitten?
That was when I got out of the military. That's 1957.
That's when he first saw me.
57,
57, 58, yeah. But we didn't connect then. We didn't connect until we got to Key Row.
So her sister's the one that started this Key Row thing.
Yeah.
Keep the teenagers busy, I guess.
Anyway, from then on, I guess we dated forever, for 9 months.
Yeah.
We saw each other for a while, and then we were engaged for 9 months.
The thing is that I was mean when I did that. We went mountain climbing, and this girl sat in the front with me, and she was in the back, right? So as soon as we get out of the car, she started walking up the mountain. So I just walked away from the other girl, and I walked up with her.
You walked up with her and came down with me. Anyway, that we weren't supposed to be pairing off anyway, but I guess there were 3 or 4 couples from that got married, that paired off.
That's cute.
That's only natural. So we married 60 years. A lot of things have happened in 60 years. I don't know what you want to hear about. I was married 9 months and 2 weeks.
Wow.
When I had your father. And I can remember telling my mother I was pregnant. She said, "You better not be."
No.
She was pregnant within a
She
month.
thought maybe we were fooling around before. We didn't do that those days.
Yeah.
Too bad, but we didn't.
Yeah.
And he took
You know how to pay.
he took me up into is it Lunan? Not Lunan, not close.
That's near the hairpin.
Some restaurant anyway. And on the way back, he stopped under a street light in the parking lot. And I thought, what the heck is he doing? And he goes in his glove compartment and pulls out a box and asked me if I would marry him. So we went to see my mother and father. I thought my father was going to pass out. And they were solemn. They didn't seem very happy. Then he took me up to his mother and father, and they were elated. We're going to get rid of him finally. Anyway, it all worked out fine. My father positively loved him.
It got to a point where he thought I was his son.
Yeah. He says, "I'm going to send my son over." I said, "Dad, he's not your son. He's your son-in-law. I'm your daughter."
We were really close.
He was. He really did. He really did like them. But I mean, it was. We had a home 5 years after we were married. We lived in 6 different places the first 5 years. He always worked hard. Always, made sure we had everything we needed. Ever since I was a little girl, that's all I ever wanted to do, was to marry. I was going to have 12 kids until I had one, and realized that's 24/7, and I didn't know how long I would be able to do that. But I had 3 kids within 4 years, and they were all good kids. And I can remember having your father and thinking, I can never love another baby as much as I love this one, until I had Denise. And then after that, I wasn't worried, because Diana and Eric, I love them all equally. I can actually say that. I do not have a favorite. I do not have a favorite. I don't.
So I got
Married in 1960.
So I got out of the military in 58?
Yep.
Well, I was a teenager and I just wanted to get away.
But wasn't it a matter of if you join or you get drafted?
If you join, you can pick what you want.
Yeah.
If you're drafted, they put you in whatever, I was a 293rd Night Engineer Group. We were the engineers. We would build airstrips and stuff like that all over the world for the military. And I didn't want to be just somebody with a gun on their back, So they sent me to Europe, Germany, and we went from Germany, France, and Spain, the whole company, and we did that I did that for 2 years over there. So it was nice. It was interesting.
Yeah. And you were in the National Guard too for years.
After that, I was in the National Guard for 2 or 3 years.
When I knew him, he was in.
It's supposed to be. You have to stay in the military for 5 years to get your retirement. We went to France. The French, I forget who it was, but they were fighting. They were continuously killing each other. And they told us that not to go off the base, because if they find an American, they'll hang you. They would find Americans hanging in trees everywhere down there.
I don't remember that.
Huh?
I don't remember that.
Oh yeah. they told.
I didn't go, so I don't know.
Yeah.
When we got to France, we were like on the base, and actually couldn't get off because it was too dangerous. When I got out of the military, I started drinking transmission at my father's barn.
Oh.
And we did that.
Paquette Brothers.
Yeah.
Paquette Brothers.
Paquette Brothers, yeah. And that was a few years there.
He was there, and then Andy got drafted. Andy was part of the Paquette Brothers, and he was on his own. But he was really getting a lot of customers, and you don't know how hard it was for them to find him, because the roads were not like they are today where your father is. He had little signs on trees how to get to, Paquette Brothers. And so he had enough money. He purchased the land on Silver Lane?
Silver Lane.
Silver Lane. He built the building while Andy was away. and got all, he was really doing good. He was like your dad. He was getting a whole lot of business. So when Andy got out of the service,
I realized after when I came back from the military, I don't have an education. So I started going to school at General Motors Training Centers. I did that for about 2 to 3 years, and constantly going to learn more. That's how we built the business up.
And then Andy took over. He went from one business to another. I think he got tired of doing
He always had 2 businesses going.
It was hard. I mean, Ray's excavating was really, he did a lot of work for that with the dozers everywhere. He built a lot of ponds all over the place. Little General Hospital, he did all of the landscaping, all of those, I don't know what you call that.
It was just a Lowell General, all the property, the land, the lawn.
Yeah.
I'm the one that graded it and got it ready. What are you doing there?
I want to hold your hand. He always said we were homeless. I don't like him to say that because I don't think we were ever homeless. We had a nice little apartment when we first got married on Hamlet Avenue. It wasn't the best, but I mean, we had a nice little apartment. And then we moved on Hildred Street. We had the apartment there. We moved on Nashville Road. We had a nice little apartment on the lake.
The first apartment went on a cold winter night in the morning, and we get up in the morning. The walls were covered with ice.
Frost. I don't know. The heating system wasn't good. We only stayed there like 3 months.
I don't think there was a heating system.
We only stayed there. Yes, it did. We only stayed there for like 3 months. He couldn't take it. He couldn't take that. And then his brother bought a lot of property on Raven Road and all of those. Those were all built by his brother.
Oh, wow.
And the farmhouse is still there. Lucian lived downstairs and we lived upstairs. And rent-free for a long time.
5 months of rent, $5 a month?
He didn't charge us until later. I don't even know how much it was, $25 a month or something. And then we moved on Nashville Road, right on the lake, right on Long Pond. And that was nice, but they sold that, and then we didn't know where to go. We started looking for property. We found this property, but we couldn't build right away. So we had to live with my mother and father for 9 months, which was wonderful. Couldn't take that, and we had a friend, the Martinos. They had a trailer, and they didn't know where to put it. Ann said, why don't you take the trailer and live in the trailer? So we did. We put it over here. We lived in the trailer for almost a year while this was being built.
Wow.
Diana was born on Nashville Road. Ray and Denise were born on Hildred, and she was born on Nashville Road. Eric was born here. He was the only one that was born here. We moved on this property in 1965. We lived in the trailer. 1966, we moved in this house.
So it was 6 months before, after we were married? Was it 6 months after we were married we bought this land?
Gosh, I don't remember. I don't remember. No, I think it was later than that. It was maybe 4 or 5 years. We bought a piece of property down next to us here.
Yeah.
Mr. Coben, I don't know how he found this place.
I knew Mr. Coben. I knew the Cobens, and the owner was out, an elderly guy, probably in his 60s or 70s. And after we were basically homeless, because we were just going from one place to another, I went to see him to see if we could buy some land. And my first lot we bought was 2 lots over for $500, was it?
Yep.
We bought like 2 or 3 acres for $500. And shortly after that,
New England
Power came to visit us and said, we want to buy an easement off your on your property, because they were going to put power lines across. So I said, well, how much are you going to pay us? We'll give you $5,000, for just going over.
That was it. We sold it for $5,000. We couldn't build, and they got the easement. We couldn't find another piece of property anywhere in Dracut. It was really ridiculous, all the prices, and we couldn't afford that then.
Yeah.
We had that $5,000, but he went to see Mr. Coben again, and he said, can we buy something somewhere else? And he said, you can look at that, but I don't think you can build on it.
Yeah.
But this was during the spring. And we still couldn't find anything. So he comes back in the fall, and it was pretty dry. It was dried up a bit. So he said to Mr. Coben, I'm pretty sure I can put a house there. He said, well, if you want it, you can, give me $500. And then he asked if we could buy all the way down to the wall, and Mr. Coburn charged us another $500. So all told, we paid $1,000 for the property. We built the house for $17,000, and back in the '80s, we redid everything for $60,000.
And the nicest part of that is that we bought this 5 acres, and all the 50 acres over there was given to the town free, and nobody can ever build on it. It's
Conservation property.
Conservation.
No. So we bought this. Who comes find us again but New England Power? Says, didn't I already talk to you people?
Plus they had
Paid us for $5,000. So when they came here, they offered us $7,000. We took it.
The guy comes in and he says,
because we had already
just sell you a piece of land. I mean, buy a piece of land from you? I said, yeah, over there.
But they didn't take it from us this time.
No,
they just gave us the $7,000.
They were going to buy an easement. And so we sold an easement. And then come to find out that Mr. Shaw, they had to go over with Shaw's land too, and he wouldn't allow it. They were going to sue the company. So they decided to go up the street.
That easement.
So they paid us $7,000 for the easement, but they never used it.
But we were already here, so they couldn't kick us out. We took that $7,000 and paid off our mortgage.
Yeah.
So we have been debt-free.
We had no mortgage at all.
For a long time. So this road was so tiny you couldn't even pass another car. If you were, we didn't see cars go by. If you happened to get one, somebody had to back up into a spot
In this
where
corner right here, I've seen fist fights over there. If somebody comes up, somebody's coming down,
and they don't want to budge.
They can't go by one another. They have a fight. That room was not there.
No.
Just
We didn't put that until the '80s, and I think that's the best room of all. We really enjoyed that. But the pond, there's still lots of peat moss in there, but they wouldn't allow us to take that out.
In 5 years, I think I only took out 3 or 4 or 5 feet.
Yeah.
And it was 12 feet thick. 12 feet deep.
Because that was always, things would grow in the fall, and it comes springtime, it would flood, everything would die, so it just all decayed matter in there, which is peat moss. When we first built here, I can remember I'd bring the kids and we'd have a picnic because it was like a little hill, and we would look in here and they were putting the foundation, and he was working the foundation. So a lot of work has happened over the past 60 years.
We didn't know what the hell we were doing, but we did something right.
Yeah.
55 years.
Oh,
56 years we're here. 56 years we're here.
We have a beautiful place, but it took us a lifetime to do it. It didn't look like this when we first started. It's mostly swamp.
It was water to the street.
Straight to the street.
When we lived in the trailer, we had borrowed, the town let us take a pump to pump the water across the street because we would have been Noah's Ark.
After we built the house, I dug a big well, these concrete well tiles, and I put a well where the lake is now, where the pond is now. I dug a big hole there, and I put these well tiles. Then I put a permanent pump in there, and we would pump constantly for 24 hours a day to get the water table there. And then once it's down below to the peat moss level, then we started selling it, processing it and selling it. So.
And your dad was around because your father was so small, he couldn't sit down to operate that machine. He used to stand, and that was his job after school, to turn that peat moss over so we could dry it and put it through the shredder.
We had a special dozer, the big wide tracks on it. And we would, after the water was pumped down, we would turn it over and the sun would dry it. And we'd process it.
And sold it.
And we were getting $5 a yard. He did that for 5 years, 4 or 5 years. Good.
Wow.
But your grandfather started 6 different businesses in his life. Before I met him, he had Paquette brothers, both he and Andy.
Transmissions.
Did transmissions on Hilton Street, where your father's land is up that way.
Okay.
And then he went to L.A. Peat Moss. He had raised excavating. He started Drake at Alternated. Not DAS because that's Eric, but Advanced Auto, which your father has.
I've been in business often, have like several businesses at one time. So luckily I had a good woman, she was the best.
And we had 4 wonderful children.
Yeah.
9 grandchildren and 5 great-grands. So we had a damn good life. Did we always get along?
Did you always get along?
I think so. No?
Oh, yes. We'd be absolutely lying if we said everything was roses.
Oh, yeah. I think anybody would be.
But you know what? We worked through it.
Raising 4 children, struggling, it's tough,
Yeah. And I was not one to say, quit. We're gonna work it out. You just don't walk away. Today it seems like they have a little difference and they walk away. Nothing is ever perfect, and you have to work at it.
Yeah, she was a good wife. She was the best, though.
He has to say that now. I'll beat him up later. No dinner for you.
No, we had a good life.
We really did. There's been some hurts, but you get over it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I would say when we moved here, it was the hardest years because we had a family to raise. We didn't have a home. We had to build a home. We had to get the land ready. That took years to do.
I can answer that best year. My best year was when I was 18.
Yeah.
I still remember the freedom I felt. I said 18. 19, I'm married. No, 21 I got married. 18 and 19 and 20 were good years for me.
Yeah.
After that, it was buckle down and this is life. You gotta work.
What she just said reminds me of Denise. When she lived here till she was 18, and then when she was 18, she decided to go to Washington.
She was when she graduated. She was 19 when she decided to go here.
She went to school anyway to learn for
the airlines.
And when she said when she left here to go in there, she was singing and she was so happy to get away.
So what's your favorite dad story? Right.
He was always so quiet and so kind, and remember, having the baby 10 months, 11 months after I had him, and when Denise needed a diaper or something, I'd say, Ray, can you get Mama a diaper? I get it for you, Mama. He was always so kind-hearted. And Denise was you could always tell she had a mind of her own. She was a screamer, and boy, if she didn't get her way, I heard about it.
Oh, yeah.
Diana was very quiet, always giving. I can remember going to buy coats and shoes for the 2 girls, and Denise would not settle for anything but what she wanted. And I'd say, listen, I have to buy some shoes or a coat for your sister. You got to be reasonable. I don't care. And Diana would say, let her have it, Ma, I don't care. She always sweet. And Eric, I always thought was destructive, but come to find out he was destructive, he was constructive.
Yeah.
Because
very good habit too.
That was a baby that I had after Diana. All the 3 kids were going to school. They left in September. I was going to have Eric in October, and I thought, this is great. I'm going to have time for a baby, to really enjoy a baby. No way. Eric was the kind of kid that put me down and I'll be quiet, pick me up and I'll cry. Get out of my way. I can remember going shopping with him in Wellwoods. I don't know if you probably don't remember that store, but by where Market Basket was a little 5 and dime.
Yeah.
And they always had candy at the cash out. And he'd say, I want this. I said, no, put that back. If you don't buy it for me, I'm going to take it. Embarrassed? Oh my God. But look at him today.
When he was just a little kid, he would take a fire truck and take it apart and take another toy and put it together like a Monroe toy, I mean, he's still doing that today.
My mother bought him an American Flyer. Oh, she was so proud of that. It was a red, wagon, a red wagon. And she paid a lot of money for it. That was expensive for her that day then. Well, he took that thing, he made it like into a portable. He had sides on it, built a house on it, and painted it, did all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I wish you had pictures of that.
And my mother said, that's it, I'm never going to buy him an expensive toy again. He pulls it apart and makes something else.
It's really It's a genetic thing, kind of.
Yeah.
He really did. He used to put all his stuff in it, get in it like a little house. He was something else.
Yeah.
I can tell you my hobbies. Growing up, I always enjoyed sports. I always did. I always liked running. I used to run with Aunt Cecile. I like walking. I also played tennis. I belonged to a bowling club, a walking club. What else did I do? I love my flowers. I love working in the yard. I love to crochet. I love to knit. I must have Afghans all over the place. I even have one in Poland. I gave it to Dominic's mother when she came to visit. So anyway, I enjoy all that, and I just love my knitting group.
Yeah.
And I've made a lot of nice friends.
One of the things I like to do when I get out of the military was, I forget how many years it was, but I started taking lessons for being a pilot. Eventually, I met some guys, and we bought 2 planes, a Cessna and a Cherokee Warrior, 4-place and a 2-place. And we had those for quite a few years, I think. But I got a license in 1960s. And I would take the kids flying all the time. I'd go flying. She never came.
No, I couldn't imagine me in that little thing.
What a nice experience that is to fly a plane. The first time I flew a plane with the instructor. As soon as you get up at a certain point, you can see it. I thought it's so beautiful. I always liked to play the piano and guitar. My father always played an instrument, a piano.
But tell him what kind of instrument you played when you were at home.
At home?
Hawaiian guitar.
Oh yeah,
Steel guitar.
I wish I'd kept that. I said to myself a few years ago, I'll never use this. I just get $50 for it.
Yeah, we put it in the yard sale.
Yeah, it's a shame. They don't think.
But work is his main thing.
Yeah.
If he doesn't work, if he's not working, he doesn't feel well.
But if I'm not doing anything here, I'll go walk. I'll walk on the city.
Your mother gave me this book.
Yeah.
Your mother gave me that. I don't even know. I didn't even write the year. I said, Cindy gave me this book. We're lucky to have her in the family. She knows I love birds, and not every daughter-in-law would want to please her mother-in-law like she did. I said, 1998. I started that. Keeping a journal as often as possible, truly opening my eyes to my inner self. Last year, my journal was filled mostly with things that were negative. Well, this year's not going to be like that. It's going to be filled with everything positive. Today the weather was sunny and the sky was blue. Spring can't be far away, for the birds are singing like a spring day. Today I was happy to have strength, care of my 3 grandchildren to be part of my life. I've done my work with ease, to have good health, to have a comfortable home, and very productive day. Got all my wash done and ironing done. See, it's all silly stuff like that.
Well, everyday life.
What am I grateful for? I'm feeling good, having a loving husband, great kids, grandkids, a comfortable home, and bills are paid. My last entry here is in June of 2014, so I haven't been writing very often. I said, most wonderful family members to add to the family. Addison, Chloe, and we're waiting for Parker. Never did I think we would have such a long life, enough to see all the grands and the great-grands. I love and feel for all of these kids. They're just amazing.